Now, there's a big difference between fresh herbs and dried herbs. Now, fresh herbs are very volatile. They're very fragile. They go bad in the fridge. Like they rot, they mold. They don't last very long. To make them last longer, you can actually put them in a cup of water, just like you would flowers, and they'll last for weeks. Like I've had fresh herbs last for up to like 3 weeks that way. But we're here to talk about dried herbs. And the difference between fresh herbs and dried herbs is that these last a lot longer. Now, you've probably heard people say that when using dried herbs, you have to use less than when using fresh herbs because these are way more potent because they've been concentrated. That's not always the case. It's the case if you have like brand new, fresh from the factory dried herbs, but odds are if you have a thing of dill sitting around, it's been sitting in your cupboard for like 4.5 years, if not longer. I think my grandma still has herbs from the Cold War. But like, it's really important to know how potent your dried herbs are when you use them, because if they're really like decimated, oftentimes it's better to just get rid of them and buy new ones. But if you want to use them anyway, what you want to do is just smell them, take a sniff, and if they don't smell like anything, they're probably not going to taste like anything either. If you're sure that you want to use them, you're just going to need to use more. And the way you use them is you have to add dried herbs to some sort of liquid-based food. You can't really sprinkle dried herbs on the top of like food as you're about to serve it, because these little things like dried marjoram, these little leaves will get stuck in your teeth, and your guests and your family are going to have like little green bits in their teeth. These need to be put in something that's moist so that they can cook, so that the liquid in the food really bubbles out the flavor of the dried herbs. You probably want to cook for like at least 10 to 15 minutes. And dried herbs are a little tougher than fresh herbs, so you can actually add them to a spaghetti sauce and have it cook for, an hour or two without causing too much damage to them. It's important to taste, so maybe 15 minutes before your sauce is done, you want to taste it. And if it needs more of a boost, say of basil or rosemary or whatever, then you would add it at least 15 minutes before it's done cooking. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to get those little bits, and the flavor is not really going to be, it's not going to have a chance to really incorporate into the food. The other difference between fresh herbs and dried herbs, obviously, is that they last longer, right? So if you have herbs that have been around for decades, they don't last that long. Like it would be nice if they did, but they don't. Like a bottle of herbs is really only fresh for up to a year. And that's assuming that it's kept in perfect conditions, right? So this is a clear bottle. This is sealed, so that's good. But clear bottles, they're not great because just like oils, dried herbs lose their like volatile oils if they're exposed to light, if they're exposed to oxygen, or if they're exposed to heat. So if you keep your herbs next to the stove where it's warm or near your oven where it's really warm, like they're not gonna last as long. They're not gonna actually be potent for very long. Same thing if you have them like sitting in a spice rack, like out on the counter, they're just sitting there, like they're not gonna keep their potency even remotely as long as if you'd put them away in a cupboard. So ideally, you want to keep herbs stored in a tightly sealed container. You want to keep them in the dark. So if I were to put this in my pantry, it wouldn't really matter if it was a clear glass jar because it's dark in the pantry. You want to keep them away from heat to make sure they last longer. But again, what you want to do is open up your herbs, smell. And if they smell good, then they're probably still good. Same goes for spices. If they don't smell like anything, you're better off just pitching them and getting a new jar. I'm not a big fan of food waste. It's actually one of my biggest pet peeves. So I hate throwing away food that hasn't been eaten. But really, like, if you're using old herbs that don't taste like anything, they don't do anything. It's kind of pointless. Like, you'd be better off getting new ones that actually taste good. I've got a selection of herbs here. Like, the sky is the limit as far as herbs go. It would be impossible for me to have them all in front of you and to show you what they are. But one thing I will tell you is that you've got different individual herbs. So like this is dill. This is Italian parsley. This is marjoram. This is one of my favorite herbs in the world. It smells incredible. Fresh marjoram is also incredible. And I've got basil and oregano. But then you've also got the world of spice blends. This particular spice blend is called Emerald City Seasoning. It's from Seattle, which is called the Emerald City. And in it is like lemon thyme, chives, savory, pink peppercorns, green peppercorns, and lemon crystal salt. So if you smell it, oh, it smells amazing. It smells green like parsley. It smells a little bit like lemon. It smells peppery from the pepper. And so spice blends can be a really easy way to accomplish flavor without much effort. Like you can buy all of these like different herbs, and I absolutely encourage that. But ultimately, like Sometimes you can accomplish a goal really simply with a blend. And some of the most common blends are like Finesse herbs, which is a French blend, Italian herbs, which is like an Italian blend. It's great for like spaghetti sauce, or herbs de Provence, which is great for like fish or chicken or whatever. And you know, there are some variances. Like they have a lot of herbs in common, but there's definitely some differences. So what I would recommend doing is, you know, getting a bottle of herbs de Provence or buying a bottle of Italian herbs, pop it open and smell it and see what you think. You'll find that they're really, really versatile. You can sprinkle them into almost any sauce. You can sprinkle them onto any kind of meat, as long as you give them time to really cook and like have those flavors meld.